welcome back to Gathering Grounds Gaming, and today we're going to be looking at some singular trees. It'd be perfect for Dungeons and Dragons, it'll be perfect for Warhammer 40,000 and any other wargaming that requires sort of like more flexibility in where you put the trees, allows you to move trees out of the way, to move through them. So really good for any sort of wargaming table. If you like this type of build, go ahead and look at my elevated hills and trees, which is something similar but a little bit more static. And if you're visiting my channel for the first time, I love it if you can subscribe and check out some of my other videos. There's some really great ruin builds. We've got some kill team board builds, so there's quite a nice variety of different videos. But it will really help the channel. I'm still quite a small channel. If you want to support me in other ways, it would be great if you can click some of the links below. There's a link to my Patreon. Starts at a couple of pounds a month, or you can go free per month, and you'll just be able to get some updates. And if you become a full member, you'll be able to get access to other videos, some behind the scenes, and also I have a Discord just for members only. If you wanted to purchase anything, you've also got my website below as well, which includes some pieces that I've made on this channel, which I've put up for sale. But it also includes some of my more like staple items. Scatter trees is one of those. I get lots of people wanting to purchase those. I do lots of different terrain, accessories. But otherwise, just tuning in, subscribing, liking the video, that also really helps. So what I'll do is I'm going to jump straight on the table. I'm going to show you how to start making the bases for the trees.
So the first thing I do is I'm going to cut some bases for the tree. So this is using 10mm insulation foam, and I basically cut the circles using just some little paint tester pots. So super simple. Now I'm basically cutting like a slope around each base, just so when they run off nicely on the bases. So you can see there. Now the two trees I'm using two different types. They're just literally just two standard ones. You can get them on the internet. And the one I'm doing now, I'm just cut the little base piece off, and then I've got this one here, the larger one. Now I'm just going to use a bradawl just to punch some holes into the bases, and then I'm just going to hot glue them onto the bases before I then start sculpting the roots and the tree trunks. You don't need a lot of hot glue, just a little bead, and the actual tree will push the glue into the hole, which will then hold it in place. Just make sure that you sort of wait for them to dry, otherwise they tend to tip sideways, which you definitely don't want to do. Unless you want crooked trees, which is absolutely perfect. So now I'm just using literally filler mixed with PVA, brown and black paint to make a nice sort of dark colour. You want this to be quite sort of thick and stiff. You don't want it to be too runny, otherwise when you're doing the tree trunks, all the filler will just run off. So you want it quite thick, like I've got it here. You can just literally leave it for a day with the lid off, and it will get nice and thick. So the taller trees, you actually have to sculpt. I actually sculpt a proper tree trunk, because obviously they've got like a little stick style stem on the trees, which you don't look very good on the board. So it's good. You can literally just use a sculpting palette knife, and you just wet the sculpting tool like I'm doing here, and it will literally just allow you to sculpt it into like I'd say like a sort of pyramid shape, but you can literally just go exactly how you feel you want the tree trunk to be. I do some of them quite thick, and then I do some of them a bit thinner. Obviously trees are not uniform, so you can literally go for it. Now I'm using the end of the palette knife just to press the roots into the filler. This will give you the nice sort of root effect that you want to just give the trees a bit of interest. So now I'm going to basically, when they're dry, I'm going to paint them all just with a dark brown sort of base coat. And you can now also paint any of the branches inside the tree just so it's all uniformed. like I'm doing here. Just make sure you know, don't worry too much about getting a bit of paint. If you get a bit of paint on it, some of the foliage, it does tend to blend in quite nicely. So now I'm going to do some dry brushing. So I'm going to go with like a mid brown, and then I'm going to use like a beige color just to highlight it. So I do just a dry brush technique, so not too much paint, and it's just to cover the dark brown, but not, you don't completely cover it. And this, as I say, just gives that nice effect. And once you add the beige to it, it will then sort of make the trees, sort of tree trunks, and that pop out quite nicely from the actual base. So yeah, I go in with the beige, and I mix this actually in with the brown, so I don't just do beige on its own. And it does give it quite a nice effect when it's dry. It does look a bit light when you first paint it, but when it's dry, it looks really good. And just make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush, otherwise you will literally just paint beige straight over your brown. So now the flock I use is a normal mix, so I use like a mid, dark, and a blend foliage, and I'm just going to paint in between all the tree trunks and the roots. I'm just going to paint pure PVA, so it's not diluted at all, and all the way down the sides of the bases as well of the trees. And I'm literally just going to sprinkle it straight over the top. And make sure you don't miss any patches. Make sure that you capture all the bases all the way down to the bottom, so there's no brown showing. But feel free to sort of, like, if you miss any bit, just to come back in afterwards. And there you go. So now I'm going to basically use isopropanol and matte sealant through a poppet. So basically, I literally just spray the isopropanol just to break the tension in the surface, and then I'm literally just going to sort of squirt the varnish on top. And when it's dried, that's what it should look like. So it should be, because of the varnish in it, it should be nice and sturdy. And the last bit is the turfs. So I use Tajima 1 if you've been watching any of my videos, and I just scatter some of these around. I've got a few different sizes, a few different colours, just to give the trees a bit of interest and give it a bit of colour as well. And I just think it just adds a nice little bit of colour to your table. You don't have to use colour, but I like to, because I think it just adds to it as well. And just fill some of the gaps. So you can see on some of the bigger trees, I've got purposely got some nice big gaps to put some nice big turfs in. But it's entirely up to you. It's entirely your preference on how you want to do it. But I get a lot of feedback saying that they look really good on the table if you put the coloured turfs on. And this is one finished here. So literally just making sure that there's no big gaps, but you don't want to cover it in turfs. You just want to make sure it's got a nice sort of mix. And as you can see, this one's got a nice variety. And these are the finished trees on the table. So as I said, you can like scatter them around some different terrain, some ruins. And there's a few different styles. So I've got the pine trees, and I've also got some autumn trees, which are really popular, and the cherry blossom trees as well.
Hope you liked that video today. I really like doing some of the wargaming essential items. It really helps people be able to bring that tabletop to life and just giving it a bit of interest. You know, you can get those trees, you can scatter them in amongst sort of ruins, like some of the examples I've shown you there. You can actually create quite a few different looks. So I think I showed you, you can do pine trees, I've showed you cherry blossom trees, you can do autumn trees. As I say, depending on the look that you want to go for, depends on like the style that you sort of then build them in. So they're quite versatile. You can make the technique I've shown you today can be used for quite a few different trees. But as I say, if you like this video, I've got some more elevated terrain tutorials coming next week. I'm going to move into a little bit of sci-fi next week. I've got a scatter elevated factory, which can be used for bolt action, 40k, and lots of different things. And I'd love to hear from you at this point. What do you want to see on this channel? So I've had quite a few comments asking about sort of different types of ruins, if I can use different styles. I say I'd love for you to put some comments below just to let me know what is it you would like to see me build, because as I say, the table is open and I can build whatever people want me to build. Thanks for tuning in, and until the next time, I look forward to seeing you.